Kuriya Mane Asha Harana Kuriya Mane Asha Charane Rati Ese Uttamagati Ye Prasade Puri Sarva Asha Ye Prasade Puri Sarva Asha Ye Prasade Puri Sarva Asha Janme Janme Prabhu say Chachidana Deloye Janme Janme Prabhu say Divigana Rude Prokasito Divigana Rude Prokasito Prema Bhakti Aite Abhijabna Siyate Prema Bhakti Aite Abhijabna Siyate Vedagaya Charita Vedagaya Charita Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Anavadana Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Anavadana Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanath Lokera Jivana Prabhu Koradaya Deo Mori Padachaya Prabhu Koradaya Deo Mori Padachaya Divya Gita Tribhuvana Divya Gita Tribhuvana Prabhu Koradaya Deo Mori Padachaya Prabhu Koradaya Deo Mori Padachaya Papadeva Sarana Gurudeva Patita Pavana Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Gaurani Pracharane Nirvasesha Punyavadi Paskacha Disatharane Namaste Saraswati Gaurani Pracharane Nirvasesha Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Nitai Gaur Hari Om, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Shishiman, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Shri Mati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samved Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. So this is reading from TKG's diary, Prabhupada's final days. This was August 15th, so I guess 1977. So Prabhupada is speaking. When I was a small boy, one of my father's friends said to him that he should send me to England to become a barrister, as I was very intelligent. But my father said that he would never send me to become a mulacha. When I became a young man, I liked that idea and was thinking why my father won't let me go. Why not go to England and get a white wife and white children? I thought somehow or other I should go and get an English wife. When I was walking on morning walks in London near the law colleges, I was thinking, now I have got thousands of white children without the help of a white wife. If I had become a barrister, I would have been a first-class barrister, putting so many convincing arguments in so many ways. Just like the Japanese know how to strike you in the right way, I put my arguments like karate. I love that. Okay, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I want to welcome Sankirtan Devi Dasi, who has just moved here, Hare Krishna, from Murari Farm. Very happy to have you for New Taliban. I had known those things were all the same to me. Okay, sorry about that, from New Taliban. And Punyakirti's here too, but he may have stepped out. But anyway, he's here for a few days. We're happy to have him back too. So Harinam on Friday, 5 p.m. in Gainesville. Jai Advaita Swami will be speaking at the sanctuary Friday evening at 7 p.m. Everyone is invited for that. Sign-up sheets, for Festival of Color on the back wall, so be sure that you get the service you want to do for that day by signing up early. And a week from Saturday is the yard sale, so start cleaning up your stuff so you can bring it over and sell it to other people who have brought over their stuff to sell. Wednesday, today, the devotees who assisted their spiritual master in dressing the deities today, it's Ekadasi today too. Shishi Radha Sham Sundar Nitai Priya Prabhu, Chota Radha Sham Sundar Guru Prasad Prabhu, Shishi Krishna Balaram Manjari Sundari, and Govinda Sangini Prabhu. Chota Krishna Balaram Sharla Prabhu, Shishi Gornitai Devaki Prabhu, Chota Gornitai Govinda Mohini Prabhu, Gurus and Lord Nrsingadev Krishna Kripa Prabhu, and Dharmaraj Prabhu is giving class today.
Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Purivajapacharya Sarasata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charna Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanand Shuraita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sri Gangamai Ki Jai Sri Jamnamai Ki Jai Srimati Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai The Lordship Sri Sri Radha Shyam Sundar Ki Jai, the Lordship Sri Sri Krishna Balaram Ki Jai, the Lordship Sri Gauritai Ki Jai, the Lordship Sri Lakshmana Shingadev Ki Jai. They go Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 38, entitled Akrura's Arrival in Vrindavan. We're doing text 18 through 22, correct? So I'll pick through the Sanskrit for 18 through 21, and then we'll do 22 together.
Namayupasyat yaribudamachuta kamsasya duta prahitopi vishvadrik yuntar bahischetasa etadihitam shetraga ikshatamalana chakshusha. Translation: the infallible Lord will not consider me an enemy, even though Kamsa has sent me here as his messenger. After all, the omniscient Lord is the actual knower of the field of this material body, and with his perfect vision, he witnesses both externally and internally all the endeavors of the conditioned soul's heart. Purport by Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Being omniscient, Lord Krishna knew that Akrura was only externally a friend of Kamsa. Internally, he was an eternal devotee of Lord Krishna. 19. Apyan grimule vitam pritanjalim mam ikshita sasmitam ardraya drisha sapajya padvashta samasta kilvisho vyada mudam vita vishankamurjitam. Translation: thus he will cast his smiling, affectionate glance upon me as I remain fixed with joined palms, fallen in obeisances at his feet. Then all my contamination will at once be dispelled, and I will give up all doubts and feel the most intense bliss. 20. Suritamam gyatvamananya daivatam borjam brihadyam parirapshatem namam atma hi tirta kritaneta daivame bandascha karma maka ujvasittata. Translation: recognizing me as an intimate friend and relative, Krishna will embrace me with his mighty arms, instantly sanctifying my body and diminishing to nil all my material bondage, which is due to fruitive activities. 21. Labhanga sangam pranatam kritanjalim mam vakshate kruраtate urushrava Tavayam janma brito mahiyasa naivadrito yodigamusya janmatat. Translation: having been embraced by the all-famous Lord Krishna, I will humbly stand before him with bowed head and joined palms, and he will address me, my dear Akrura. At that very moment, my life's purpose will be fulfilled. Indeed, the life of anyone whom the Supreme Personality fails to recognize is simply pitiable. And 22, we can do responsively. Natasya kasche daita suritamo nacha priyo dveshpa upeksha evava tatapi bhaktim bhajate yata tata suradrumo yadvatupashrito ridya. Natasya kasche daita suritamo nacha priyo dvasya upeksha evachva tatapi bhaktam bhajate yata yattata suradrumo yadvadupashrito ridha. Natasya kasche daita suritamo Nacha priyo dvesha upeksha eva va. Tatapi bhaktan bhajate yata tata. Sura drumo yadvadupashritorida. Please chant. Natasya kasche dayata suritamo. Nacha priyo dvesho peksha eva. Tatapi bhaktan bhajate yata tata. Surajamo yad padupashritar tada. Natasya kasche daita suritamo. Nacha priyo dvesho peksha eva. Tatapi bhaktan bhajate yata tata. Surajamo yad padupashritorita. Mothers. Natasya kasche daita suritamo. Nacha priyo dvesha upeksha eva va. Tatapi bhaktan bhajate yata tata. Surajamo yad padupashritor dada. Word for word meanings. Natasya, he does not have. Kaschit, any. Daita, favorite. Suritama, best friend. Nacha, ner. Upriyaha, unfavored. Dvesya, hated. Upekshaha, neglected. Eva, indeed. Va, or. Tata api, still. Bhaktan, with his devotees. Bhajate, he reciprocates. Yata, as they are. Tata, accordingly. Sura Drumaha, a heavenly desire tree. Yadvat, just as. Upasritaha, taking shelter of. Artha, desired benefits. Da, giving. Namagyanatimrandasya Gyananjanashvalakaya Chakshurmritanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Shri Gurvao Prabhuti Namine Shri Shri Vrindatavi Vira Padapat Pankajadayani Prabhupada Nupadaya Namah Shri Gurvata Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sandhagari Paschatya Deshatani. Hare Krishna. So, oh, sorry, I haven't done a translation. Sorry. It's a translation. The Supreme Lord has no favorite and no dearmost friend, nor does he consider anyone undesirable, despicable, or fit to be neglected. All the same, he lovingly reciprocates with his devotees in whatever manner they worship him. just as the trees of heaven fulfills the desires of whoever approaches them. Purport. The Lord says something similar in the Bhagavad Gita 9:29. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dvesho stina priyaha. Ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend and is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya was as hard as a thunderbolt for those who envied him, and as soft as a rose for those who understood his divine mission. So, sorry about that. I thought what I'll also do, since that this part of the Bhagavatam, most of these verses were actually commented on by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. I would like to read his purports in his Sarartha Darshini. And this book was translated by Bhanu Swami, and the editor and publisher is Mahanidhi Swami. So this is a version that devotees would recite from. So the purport to text 22 is, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, someone may object, the Supreme Lord should be equal to all at all times. Why should he show special friendship to someone like you? This is actually, Akrura is arguing, mentally he's arguing with himself. Akrura responds to this objection in this verse. Quote, though Krishna is neither a friend, a dear friend, nor enemy of anyone, still he reciprocates with his devotees, as stated in his own words in the Bhagavad Gita 9:29. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dvesho stina priyaha. Ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mai teshu chapyaham. Translation, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, and is in me, and am also a friend to him. The words yata tata mean that Krishna responds to his devotees according to how they worship him. This is in accordance to Krishna's statement, Ye yata mam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyaham. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Bhagavad Gita 4:11. The words Suradrumo Yadvad, meaning like a heavenly desire tree, indicate how the various degrees of fruits awarded correspond to the various degrees of shelter taken. As there is no discrepancy if the Kalpavriksha, desire tree, does not give fruits to a person who does not take shelter of it. Similarly, it is so in the case of the Supreme Lord. However, whereas the Lord is dependent upon his surrendered devotees, the Kalpavriksha is not dependent on those who take shelter of it. Therefore, according to his devotion, Krishna shows friendship, enmity, or neutrality. For example, Krishna showed friendship to Ambarish and enmity or indifference to the envious Durvasa. So, there in the English language, which has a very limited vocabulary, we generally find there is one word that describes many different objects or aspects, or one word for many different descriptions. For example, the word uncle. Uncle can mean many different things, but in the Vedic culture and its languages, mainly being Sanskrit. You have one word meaning uncle, which is specifically describes the uncle from the mother's side, and another word describes the uncle from the father's side, and like that there are different relationships. So there are many different words to describe and the one aspect of what we want to say, so we can get a very clear picture. So similarly, here the word friendship is being talked about. And in Vedic culture, there are many words for friendship that describes different aspects of friendship. I don't know them all, but one of them is mitra. That's one type of friendship. Do any of us know some other types of friendship? Some other word? Yeah, that's what is described here. That's the main one that we want to talk about. Does anyone know any? There are some other words. Say that again, Prabhu? Bandhu. Okay. So some of these friendships may take on different aspects. For example, in the Mahabharata, Karna had a friendship with Duryodhana, but that friendship was based on the fact that Duryodhana gave him so much opulence. He gave him the kingdom, he gave him, so he had like an obligation. So that's a certain friendship that was there because he was obligated to Duryodhana. Similarly, the other example is there of grandfather Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev was obligated to the Kauravas, to Duryodhana, to Maharaj Dhritarashtra, because he was being fed by them, he was being maintained by them, so he had that obligation, he had that kind of friendship there. So that's another type of friendship that has a condition that supports it or is surrounded by. I remember the very first culture shock I had when I came to the United States. One person came to me and he said, "Hey friend, do you want this object? If not, I'll throw it away." So they want to give something away that they didn't want. So the first thing I said, that was very strange to me, because the way I grew up is that we wouldn't do such a thing. We wouldn't give something just because we don't want it anymore. We would give something that is most valuable to us. So that is talked about here. This type of friendship, as described in these verses, is surit, and added to the Sanskrit text, suridam. So this type of friendship that has no conditions. So Krishna describes himself in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktaram yagya tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam sarvam shantim richate. So suridam sarva bhutanam, Krishna says, and it particularly describes these words, that this type of friendship, he says that I am the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. So then Krishna describes his devotee in the Bhagavatam, Suridam Sarva Dehinam. Same thing, that his devotee is the friend and well-wisher of all. And we have a valid example within our society, headed by Srila Prabhupada, that he is the well-wisher of all. Every letter that I've ever seen that Srila Prabhupada wrote, at the bottom it says, "Your ever well-wisher." It's always there. When I first saw that, I said, "Oh, this is probably just one of the other ISKCON vocabulary." Like how when I first came, we heard the word bloop. We never heard of that before. And we heard of materialistic. I never really, heard of that, and impersonalism and so forth. So I remember that's one of the first things that caught me when I first joined the movement. a couple of weeks after, I was reading the newspapers, and myself and my brother, we were becoming devotees together, and I ran to him and said, look, these people are now using Prabhupada's words. Something they wrote an article and it says impersonalism there. So I was kind of very excited about that. So this kind of vocabulary is there. So anyway, these things were pretty attractive to me. So this kind of a friendship here that we're talking about, this Surit and this ever well-wisher was something that I was kind of very attracted to. I thought, this was just another ISKCON thing. But as I grew more in Krishna consciousness, I'm learning to appreciate what it really means. Especially seeing that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to entertain and grow this mood of being the ever well-wisher of everyone. That's why Srila Prabhupada always stresses that we study his books so we can understand this mood and this attitude. How we can adopt this nature of being the actual Surit, from the very transcendental sense of the word, to be the real friend of everyone without any conditions, without any motivation, without expectation of any return. And there are some vivid examples in our philosophy and our scriptures, itihasas, so forth. For example, Prahlad Maharaj, the 5-year-old devotee boy, he was showing this kind of a friendship and care for his demoniac father, that his father was such a demon trying to kill him in so many ways. And he always proved to everyone that he was his father's best friend and ever well-wisher. He prayed to Lord Nishingadev, please save him, please protect him. So that's a quality that is not so very easy, at least for me, to develop. Someone who is so inimical towards me that you have that kind of love and friendship for them. You also have, there are other examples. Just had one in mind that I wanted to mention. Even or here, as in these previous verses surrounding what we're speaking of today, Akrura was presenting a similar nature here. He was actually saying that how actually kind Kamsa was. Why? Akrura is described in Jiva Goswami described in his Gopal Champu. He named this chapter. Does anyone knows what Jiva Goswami named this chapter in his book? He named it The Cruelty of Akrura, or Akrura's Cruel Trip, something like that. Basically, and I was kind of caught when I read that the cruelty of Akrura, the name of his chapter. So I read the entire chapter, and the only thing I figured out why he says the cruelty of Akrura is because Akrura was on a cruel mission. He was sent by Kamsa to bring Krishna and Balaram back to Mathura to be killed. So, like that, he had this cruel mission. But Akrura did not see it in that way. Akrura saw it in a very favorable way, that here is an opportunity that Kamsa is so kind to me that he's sending me to take darshan of my Lord. So this is a transcendental way to see situations that surrounded us. As we would read later on, when he met Krishna's dad, Nanda Maharaj talked about his demoniac activities of Kamsa. That how can Kamsa be so demoniac? But for the devotee Akrura, with all he was in the mood of a servant in that rasa, dasya ras, he was able to see and appreciate every circumstance that helped him in his Krishna consciousness. So that was a point that really struck me, that how he saw this situation. And as such, at least in the description, this entire chapter and this of in the Krishna booklet from Srila Prabhupada's translation, and the Sarartha Darshini by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Gopal Champu by Jiva Goswami, none of these, from what I have read, none of these described Akrura with any indifference or inimical feelings towards Kamsa, at least in this part, this chapter. None of them is described like that. He showed a very favorable response to Kamsa's instruction to him to go and bring Krishna and Balaram. So this is a life of the devotee, that whatever situation they're in this material world, they're able to see the good side of it, pick the milk out of the water. That's why devotee is described as Paramahamsa, the swan-like devotee who is able to extract the milk from the water. If you ever look at a swan, when I was a kid, I used to be very interested in looking at how birds and these other animals behave. And I used to see this swan; it would just gobble up all its water in its beak and then squirt out something else through its nostrils. Just so. Afterwards, when coming to Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada describes that that's what the swan does. It pulls all the water up, extracts the milk, and pulls all the liquid and squirts the water out, and it keeps the milk. So that's the life of a devotee, to have the ability to extract the nectar from this material world, whatever opportunity is there to serve Krishna. And whoever offers that opportunity, whether it's a demoniac or divine, they actually honor those personalities or situations. And when we're surrounded by those like-minded personalities, then life becomes very easy for us. I know last Saturday on the Rath Yatra, because this time they gave us so many restrictions, they had us start early in the morning at 10 o'clock when there's not many people there. So, of course, I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I saw what the situation was, and I was thinking that, this is so bad that they're just forcing us because we're a religious group and we have no authority over them. They're forcing us to do something that's not in the best of our interest. And I had a negative feeling about it. And in the middle of that feeling, another devotee who worked with us, he came up and he said, these festivals are so wonderful that do you know that Florida, we're having the best publicity and facility from the government and for these Rath Yatras? He said, if you go on the media and on YouTube and look for the publicity of Rath Yatras in LA and New York, you would not see the publicity that we are getting in Florida. And he mentioned, you never heard of the mayors and the commissioners from these places coming to inaugurate our festivals. Only Florida that's happening. It's so wonderful. So then I was thinking, just see my negativity. I was thinking in a negative way, and look how nice it is. Look how much facilities and how cooperative these public authorities are, that facilitates us so that we can benefit in Krishna consciousness. Of course, they benefits too. So that's like another side that I've really learned how to see things in a better way. And here, Akrura, with that mood and mentality, he's approaching Vrindavan, and he's meditating on these thoughts of how he would get the opportunity to see Krishna to see Balaram, to touch the lotus feet, to be able to serve them, able to get their darshan, and thus all his contamination would go away. And then he's also thinking, while he's arguing with himself, within himself this whole chapter is like based on that, this kind of a mental argument within Akrura, that, oh, would Krishna see me as an enemy because I am being sent by his enemy? And then he says no. By his dint of his knowledge, he says no, that Krishna would understand that internally I am a devotee, and because my mission is being sent by this demon, that doesn't make me demoniac. So by dint of his understanding, he was able to hold his firm ground that no, Krishna doesn't see like that. And then he quotes all these verses from the Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna he's the real friend, he's the real Surit, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, that he's the real benefactor and well-wisher of everyone, that he doesn't see with all, some may be inimical towards him, or some may be demons, some may be friends. Krishna sees every one of us neutrally. However, when the devotee approaches him in a loving way, he reciprocates in that way. As one surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly. That's the one of the first things that caught my attention in Krishna consciousness, because we grow up in general, in the religious societies that one grew up in, there's always this idea of what's in it for me. This is an American thing also. What's in it for me? How can I benefit from this? So when I first read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and that was mentioned there, that was very, very attractive to me, because we grew up always thinking, okay, we're going to go to the temple, or we're going to go to engage in some religious duties. What's the reward? What's the benefit for us? So in so thinking, when I saw this, that was kind of pretty attractive. But of course, it was in a very limited understanding. My understanding now is a little better. That he rewards us spiritually, not materially, with material opulence and so forth. I just watched part of a clip of some wrestlers the other day. They were it's like a school of training students to wrestle, and what they do, they are worshiping Hanuman. The guru was teaching them to worship Hanuman to get strength, so that they can wrestle. So that's not the idea of a devotee, to get these aspects of the material world. But a devotee sees the spiritual advancement, he sees the spiritual opportunity that is offered by the Lord in his reciprocation to us. It says that if we make one step towards the Lord, he makes 10 steps towards us. I personally would think that's an understatement, because thinking in my own life that I would make a very little effort to do something in Krishna consciousness, and there's so much more reciprocation, much more than 10 times. So that's the nature of Krishna, that he reciprocates with everyone, the devotees and the enemies, the demons, he reciprocates. Like sometimes my wife and I would discuss that. How come the devotees, like sometimes we struggle so much to keep the temple going, to keep our lives going, and these materialists, sometimes, we see that they flourish, so much they flourish, and they are so demoniac. They break every principle there ever is. But Krishna describes that. He says that whatever desire one has, he fulfills, because he doesn't interfere with anyone's independence. Whatever desire one has, he fulfills that desire, whether it's material desire or spiritual desire. And that is the real meaning of independence. If he was to restrict and enforce upon us, well, no, you cannot have that material desire, or no, you cannot have this, then we cannot be described as independent living entities. The meaning of independence would not exist. So Krishna gives us this independence, and he doesn't interfere with it. So when we try to offer service to Krishna and love to him, it is totally out of our independence, and then that becomes real love, because it's not through any force. So if we force one to do something for us, then that is not love. Like when you have your work with your boss. You're forced to work, sometimes despite you're sleepy or whatever, you're forced to work because it's an arrangement. So through that arrangement, there is no situation of love there. It's just a contractual arrangement. But with the Lord, that is not the case. Whatever we do in Krishna consciousness should be out of loving affection, should be out of our own heart, that we want to serve, and we do not expect any reciprocation. Of course, reciprocation is there because the Lord promises that, but from the devotee side, he should not expect that, okay, I'm going to serve, providing Krishna arrange that I get all Alachua to do this service or whatever. That's not a way that a devotee thinks. So Akrura is contemplating all these thoughts here as he was approaching Vrindavan. This is his mindset, and this is very instructive to us as to what mindset we should have in engaging in Krishna consciousness. That see the neutrality of the Lord, see the loving reciprocation he offers when we engage in his service. Even though that reciprocation is there with the karmis also, the non-devotees, the enemies, the demons, it's there with the devotees in a favorable way. So Krishna sees all of us very equally, and a devotee's advancement is proven as to how much he can able to understand. Of course, that's one aspect of devotee's advancement, how much he can able to understand these topics, these subject matters, and understand his position as against the non-devotee. Like one time, I was speaking with Dhanavir Maharaj when I first came here. That was before he became sannyas. He had his bhakta program. And I asked him, because he would stress every day on his students to keep reading, and he actually have it a standard that they have to study so much every day. So whilst we were talking, he mentioned to me, he said that if his brahmachari students especially don't study like that every day, then they may start thinking, well, why am I being here in Krishna consciousness? I could have been outside like the materialist and work and enjoy material facilities. So Srila Prabhupada said a similar thing, that we should understand these finer points of Krishna consciousness and able to maintain that status of simplicity and humility, and being able to stay focused. So it's very instructive, at least to me, from these verses, that how a devotee should set his mind in Krishna consciousness, what mindset he should have, how he should approach, how he should arrange with his dealings with the other devotees. And this entire spiritual discipline, it's very instructive to me. So I'm pretty sure some of you may find it beneficial also. So these are a few thoughts that I have on these topics here, and if anyone would like to make a comment, add anything else, or any questions, we can take them. Madan Mohan Prabhu?
I had a thought also for consideration, that there's another reason that he may be considered cruel to take. you said it was Jiva Goswami.
In his Gopal Champu, yeah.
So Jiva Goswami, we know from the prayers to the 6 Goswamis,
Yeah.
that they're absorbed.
Sat Goswami Astaka.
They're absorbed in the mood of the gopis.
Yeah.
So at least externally it appeared that Krishna was being taken away from Vrindavan, and the separation that manifested in the devotees and in Krishna when that took place could be seen in one aspect as very cruel. That in other words, Krishna is no longer going to be seen in Vrindavan. He's no longer going to be engaged with that. So practically everyone in Vrindavan, they almost died when Krishna left. So.
Yeah, that's coming up here. Because even with the gopis, they actually mention like that this Akrura is pretty cruel. Yeah, Shama Kunpuru.
I just know that Prabhupada said that Akrura knew that Krishna was going to appear, and it's in the beginning of the Krishna book. It describes that all the members of the Yadu dynasty, they went to the different dynasties to avoid Kamsa's wrath, but that Akrura took shelter in Akrura's house specifically so that he could see Krishna's pastimes. And also, Akrura was cursed because of his implication in the Shamataka jewel incident, right? Isn't that correct? That's because he was implicated in that. I forgot what the curse was, but he was cursed.
That's why he was implicated.
By the gopis, right? That's how he got implicated, because he had taken Krishna and Balaram away from Vrindavan, right? Right, okay. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? So, you had your hands up? Did you have your hands up just now? Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, seeing that there's nothing else, we can stop here. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.